If you enjoy the content on this channel, please like and subscribe. The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds Snakes is a 2023 American dystopian action film directed by Francis Lawrence from a screenplay by Lesslie and Michael Arndt. Based on the 2020 novel The Ballad of Songbirds Snakes by Suzanne Collins, it serves as a prequel to The Hunger Games, released in 2012, and is the fifth installment in the Hunger Games film series. The film stars Tom Blyth, Rachel Zegler, Peter Dinklage, Jason Schwartzman, Hunter Schafer, Andrés Rivera, and Viola Davis. Set 64 years before the events of the first film, its plot follows the events that lead a young Coriolanus Snow on the path to becoming the tyrannical leader of Panem, including his relationship with the Hunger Games District 12 tribute Lucy Gray Baird during the 10th Hunger Games. The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds Snakes, held its world premiere in Berlin, Germany on November 5, 2023, and was released in the United States on November 17, 2023 by Lionsgate Films. The film received mixed reviews from critics and has grossed $329 million worldwide against a $100 million budget. In May of 2022, Tom Blyth was cast as a young President Snow, with Rachel Zegler as his protege, a tribute, Lucy Gray Baird. Zegler was originally offered the role in January, but initially turned it down before later changing her mind. In June 2022, Andrés Rivera, who previously starred in 2021's West Side Story alongside Zegler, Hunter Schafer, and Jason Schwartzman, were cast. The soundtrack for Ballad of Songbirds Snakes contains the film version songs such as The Hanging Tree and Pure Driven Snow, which were performed by Zegler and produced by David Cope, which heavily drew from country folk music. The official soundtrack was released on November 17, 2023, and was led by two singles, The Hanging Tree, Lucy Gray's version, and You Can't Catch Me Now, performed by Olivia Rodrigo. Some interesting trivia notes. A covey is a small group of people, things, or partridges. In Lucy Gray's covey, children are called by their first and middle names. Middle names are that of colours, hence Lucy Gray Baird. The statue of Lady Justice seen in the Capitol holds two swords instead of swords and scales. This is reflective of how the Capitol views justice as a victory over the districts instead of a balance of equilibrium. She also wears no blindfold, indicating the idea of justice in the Capitol is not blind to status or wealth and is a corrupt system. Coriolanus Snow's first name is a reference to one of William Shakespeare's last tragedies, Coriolanus, which is based on the real Roman general Caius Marcius Coriolanus, who lived in the 5th century BC. The plot of the play and Coriolanus' actual life are strongly paralleled in the character of Snow, both in his prequel and the main Hunger Games trilogy. Tom Blyth stated while trying to get into character, he would listen to Lana Del Rey's song Money, Power, Glory. Rachel Zegler tweeted that it took 9 days to film the Hunger Games themselves. It took a day and a half to film the bloodbath at the beginning and 8 days to film the rest of the games, the individual deaths, the security camera and drone footage, etc. Coriolanus Snow's father is named Crassus. This is the obvious reference to Marcus Licinius Crassus, with whom Coriolanus' father shares few similarities. The historical Crassus was one of the richest men of his day, using shady means and practices to amass a great fortune. He was one of 3 men, aside from Pompey and Julius Caesar, who made the first triumvirate, whose members also played key roles in turning the Roman Republic into the Roman Empire. Crassus was also known for his brutal suppression of the rebellion led by Spartacus, only for his ally Pompey to take most of the credit for himself. Sejanus Blyth's name was likely inspired by the ancient Roman figure Lucius alias Sejanus, who bore the same name, though their stories are very different. The host of the Hunger Games in the film is Lucky Flickerman. The host of the games in the original films was Caesar Flickerman, implying that Lucky may have been Caesar's father. Based on Caesar's age in the Hunger Games, it seems likely that Caesar followed the same career path as his father. Now, this is one of these films that I wasn't really interested in watching. Look, I liked the Hunger Games. They were truly fascinating films, and of course, Jennifer Lawrence was absolutely superb here as Katniss. The original story by Suzanne Collins is of course very deep, nuanced and layered. Set in the dystopian world of Panem, the idea of forcing children to fight for survival in a televised spectacle adds a layer of social commentary on media manipulation and the consequences of a totalitarian regime. The films and the books incorporated societal and political commentary, addressing issues such as class disparity, the consequences of war, and the power of media in shaping public perception. This film now, of course, acts as a prequel to how the Hunger Games we see, of course, later in the earlier films are eventually portrayed. This also acts as a prequel to the story of Coriolanus Snow and how, of course, he became the all-conquering president of Panem. Firstly, the cast in this film are really excellent. And it's through their superb acting that makes the film really fascinating, although I still feel it's a story that didn't really need to be made. As interesting and fascinating as Coriolanus Snow character was in the original films, played of course by the fantastic Donald Sutherland, I can't say I was dying to see a prequel about how he became who he was. In saying that though, Tom Blyth does a superb job. For me, it's a star-making performance. There are aspects of his performance that you really like, and he makes you win him over, but of course slowly but surely, his ambition, greed, and relentless cruelty eventually comes through. It's a truly fascinating portrayal, and Blyth brings it perfectly to life with cold, exacting ruthlessness. Zegler is good here as Lucy Gray Baird, but in the same breath though, I found that it relied too much on her singing. Yes, of course she's a fantastic singer, and she was magnificent in West Side Story, but parts of her character almost felt like we were watching a musical. I do, however, love her rendition of The Hanging Tree. It's an incredibly powerful song, and now to see the sort of backstory behind this song really just adds to the gravitas of this captivating music. For me, the standouts though have to be Viola Davis and Peter Dinklage. These two veteran actors just add a sort of gravitas and realness to this film that it really needed. And to see the wonderful Viola Davis sink her teeth into such a villainous role really looks like she had a lot of fun. Look, the film is long, at 158 minutes. It definitely could have been edited down and got to its points a lot quicker. And even though this is a supervillain origin story, it subtly tells its tale, cleverly and expertly, making you somewhat feel sorry and like Snow. But eventually, of course, you know that you will turn on him. Look, the premise of The Hunger Games, in many ways, is a commentary on how our society can become. It almost acts as a sort of warning to stop us from going too far down one path. There are also definitely references to fascism here, and particularly Nazism. And as I say, it acts as a sort of warning piece to what particularly could be the rise of fascism once again within our own society. It's always been a fascinating premise and story, and I'm happy to say that The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds Snakes, really does add to this fantastic mythology. It's maybe not a film that was needed to be made, but it's a film that is well made, enticing, enjoyable, shocking, and yet fascinating, with some excellent performances. This is a film that really surpassed my expectations. The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds Snakes, gets an 8.5 out of 10.